a couple minutes to get this thing started. So what we are going to be doing is we're going to be waiting for our friend, worshipful brother Igor Strukan, to join. He should have the link. Let's give him a minute. If he doesn't join, then it's just going to be me. However, we should have him joining soon. Freemasonry and pop culture. That is today's topic. Particularly, we're going to be watching a movie on Tubi. So let's give it a couple minutes. It was voted on. The winning vote, by the way, was Freemasonry and the Knights Templar. I think that's our friend Smokey. So welcome, Smokey. Thank you for joining. Actually, I'll be back in just 1 second. I'm just going to close my window. For some reason, it's getting very loud. So give me 1 moment. All right, I'm back. Welcome, Smokey. So how's it going? I hope you're doing well. We're just going to, like I said, in a couple minutes, I'm going to wait to see if and when my friend joins. And then we're going to get started. So I hope everybody, though, is doing well. We'll see who jumps in the chat. Hello, Dad. How's it going? I hope that your day is going well, as always. Please hit that like and subscribe button when you get the chance. If you're new to the stream, we're going to be starting this movie in about 5-10 minutes. Freemasonry and the Knights Templar on Tubi. Smokey, I don't know if you're still good for the 29th of September, but that is in my list. All right. Just going to wait to see if/when worship brother Igor Strukan joins. Everybody who has Tubi out there, oh, here it is. Well, we got Igor, but Igor is in a different orientation.
Am I?
Which
That's
is
because
kind of.
I'm charging my phone. My phone's dying, so I can try upside
Now
down.
you're upside down. Now you're going to make the poor people. Oh, there we go.
Well, let me see what I can do.
We got you. We had you.
Give me a second. 1 second. I'm putting some settings on. Hold on.
Oh.
No, I'm just trying. My rotate's all messed up, so it's not letting me. Come on.
Well, we might have to come back out, leave, and then come back in again. And just before you come back in, make sure your orientation's set to vertical.
It's because I have to charge my phone. Yeah.
In that case, maybe does everybody mind if Igor continues to be the opposite orientation to the rest of us?
I can because I'm not sure if I can set it up. No, this thing is all. I charge in the bottom. It's because it says is locked.
The orientation, yeah.
I'm trying to get it to move, but it just doesn't want to do its thing.
Well, we can all see, by the way, on the YouTubes right now. They're all laughing. Smokey the Clown is laughing at you, Igor.
That's fine. I suppose I would charge my phone earlier. What are the other options here?
Yeah, well, that's good. That's a pretty decent view there. Honestly, I would just keep it at that one.
I just don't want to hold the phone the entire time.
Well, once it gets warm enough, see, Smokey says, bro, it's all good. Let it be upside down. We can kind of keep to the top of your head now. You might have to like bring the. There we go.
Upside down. Upside down. Like I could do this, no problem. But it looks funny.
Is that what we're doing now? If you support Igor being upside down here,
sideways works too for me personally.
I'm gonna make this a chat. Hold on, just 1 second.
Should you're gonna have a poll? You're gonna put it in the poll?
Yes.
What orientation I should be?
Should Igor or what orientation should Igor be?
Once my phone's slightly charged, I'll take it off like the charger and go to normal orientation. Or I can go till the very end and like when my phone's about to die, then I plug it back in. We can do that too.
Well, for now, let's see what the people have to say.
Fine. How's your day going, Cam?
Good. I was in Cottam, so the land of small town Canada, which was fun. I like Cottam, so it was for a wrestling show.
Nice.
So I got some sun. How about you? How was your day?
It was pretty good. I went to there's a hawk migration at Holiday Beach, so I got to go see a bunch of hawks. I touched a red-tail hawk, its wings. You can actually sponsor them and adoption, but adoption is you just give them money and then you get to throw the bird in the air, it flies away. It's got a little tracker on it, and they give you the data, the name, and they track it as it flies down south.
So can you follow it as well? Like your bird? Do you get the tracking number?
They give you updates. So how this came to be is a couple of weeks ago, there was a nectar fest at Ojibwe Park. I happened to go there and with my girlfriend, and we donated $20 just for this hummingbird banding. But by the time we got there, it was a little late, so all the hummingbirds were released. So most people, you get to get one and you release it. So they didn't have any for us to release in the air for hummingbirds wise. But then they told us, oh, we got something else going on later on. Come by Holiday Beach at this time on this day, and you get to see some hawks and release some hawks and watch them count and measure hawks.
So how many hawks did you actually catch and release?
I didn't catch any. I saw 3. I saw 2 red tails. Both were female. One was over a kilogram. The other was 800 grams. And then we also saw a kestrel, a tiny little cute little falcon thing.
So what is because I know you got in the paper once, you're a celebrity for bird watching.
Okay, I happened to go to a park and I happened to feed a bird out of my hand. So the bird landed on my hand, and I happened to be a reporter from Windsor Star, and she snapped a picture. And then I didn't realize what she was doing until after. She's like, "Can I take a picture?" I'm like, "Sure." Take a picture, and she's like, "Hey, I'm part of the Windsor Star. Can I use this?" I was like, "Sure." She spelled my name wrong, so good luck finding.
I didn't notice that. Was it your first name or last name spelled wrong?
Last name.
I didn't notice. All right. Well, there you go.
Wow, such a good friend. You didn't even notice.
I did all. What was what's your favorite bird then, if you had to pick one?
I just happened to, I don't know, favorite bird. I guess bald eagle. I see them once in a while around here, so I enjoy seeing them. I almost ran one over the one time. That was kind of embarrassing. It was eating a carcass off the ground near Tobermory area up north. We were going back roads, turned down. It was eating something. It flew it was a couple feet away from the car. Its wingspan was wider than my car. I have a small car, but it was wider than my actual car. And I was like, oh, damn. I was like, I wish I had a dash cam. That would have been a really good video.
That bird would have destroyed your car, it sounds like. I've been in that car many times. I think it was the same one. So I'm happy that it's still okay. By the way, we got Santeep joining us. How's it going, Santeep? Oh, we have 2 votes, by the way, for what orientation you should be. Upside down is half and sideways is half. So we'll keep it at this for now, but maybe once your phone gets it charged, we can switch it to the other one. Or you can always just turn off the video and just have your what's it called? Your avatar up there, or whatever you use on social media. Who has a movie? Igor has a movie?
Oh, there's an animated movie called Igor, yes.
I did not know that. What is it about? Is Igor the hero or the villain, or?
He's there's a comp. It's actually in that movie. Igors are a class of beings that assist mad scientists. So there's more than one Igor.
Okay. So it sounds like it's for kids.
Yes, it is.
I've
There's
never seen this movie before, but is it good, Smokey? Let me know in the chat. By the way, did you vote for welcome back, Underground Thomas. It's great to have you. Did you vote in the poll, Igor, for the movie or the pop culture we're going to watch?
yes, I think I did Knights Templar because I used to be a Knights Templar back in the day.
So that's the one that won, by the way. Knights Templar won. Um, my vote was for Space Masons and the Alien Conspiracy, and that did not win. Freemasonry and the Knights Templar one. So that's what we're going to watch. At least the first episode, because I guess it's 3 episodes or more. It's one season. Actually, yeah, it's the
How much
episode.
time do I commit to this project? Like, you told me to watch a movie. How deep are we going?
Well, I mean, you can hang it as long as you want. I suppose we'll watch at least the first episode, which is it doesn't show time. I think about which is 33 minutes. So we can
Oh,
watch, let's say, 2 episodes or even
we
3
can do all
episodes.
three. Like, I wasn't sure if I was like committing to like a couple hours or like a Lord of the Rings marathon when like your life goes away.
We should have done that. By the way, Underground Thomas, no concerns at all. I appreciate you being here when you can. Obviously, you have to put your work well before my stream. I don't always believe, the whole work before Freemasonry thing, but I believe you should definitely put your work before this stream, for heaven's sake. So go to work, get your, that's the most important thing. But that doesn't mean, you can't check us out after or hit the like or subscribe button or share the streams, all that jazz. All right, Smokey, what's your joke about Lord of the Rings? And then what I'll do is I'll give everybody the cue and we'll start the movie. If you're in Canada, you should have this Tubi TV.com, Freemasonry and the Knights Templar. That's KNIGHT Templar. It's free. If you're in America, you may have it, you may not, but you should have to find it somewhere. But we're going to watch it together. I've never seen this before. And I'm also not a Knights Templar. I didn't join the York Rite. I've learned a lot about it as part of research for this stream, but I still don't know as much as others, that's for sure. Well, I don't want to see you acting anything out unless is that the joke? I don't understand Lord of the Rings references. Well,
I'm also reading sideways. What are we looking up? I'm gonna throw it on my computer. I have my computer in the background.
yeah,
Or
so
how you
you
doing
go
this?
you go to tubi.com. I don't know if you're there yet. And
I am.
then just type in Freemasonry and the Knights Templar, and the movie should come up. Sarah, I have no idea who the black hairs are and why they're making fun of me. They may be making fun of Igor because he's sideways in the stream right now because he didn't charge his phone.
I'll take it off the charger pretty soon.
But do you see did it pop up on Tubi? There's no rush. You can keep it like that. It's
What
fine.
are you talking about? So is it Knights
It's
Templar?
the third one.
This one, right?
Yep, that one.
Okay, so it's the guy with the flaming sword.
Yes.
Legacy of Secrecy. Ooh la la.
So like I said, you're kind of the best person to have this, not me, because like I said, you've been part of the Knights Templar. I haven't, but I've never seen this. So for all I know, it could be complete nonsense, or for all I know, it could be very accurate. We're going to find out in a second.
Before we continue, there's some hilarious ones next to it. There's like a Templar Nation thing, and some of these things look hilarious. And if you go down, there's like the Temp and the Heathen Knight. Yeah, it really takes a turn after a couple of lines.
I mean, I have argued for years that Tubi is the best streaming service. It's free and it's got the best scary movies. So we should all support Tubi. Although I will say on a side note, movies, I just saw The Long Walk. I was going to do it out of theater reaction. I'm still going to do a reaction to it at some point. I couldn't do it at the time because I was crying because it's a very touching movie. If you've never seen it, I think everybody should. Gave me a few tears. So yeah, and it's there are some Masonic ideals within. Probably the first movie I've cried at since I don't know. I cried about the oh my gosh, I cried at the end of Terminator 2, but I was like 10 years old, so that's my excuse for that.
Is it because
Um,
bad guys lost?
sorry?
Is it because the bad guys lost? You want a community to die and everything?
Yes, yes, I did. I mean, I am no fan of people. We all know this. Um, but even I was very touched by. I mean, and part of it is because it's my favorite book. So I'm kind of well, my favorite's probably Don Quixote, but The Long Walk is in the running and has been at times my favorite book. And I thought the movie did as much justice as it could to the book. I don't think it won or was better than the book, but it did the best it could. It's a challenging concept to bring to the screen, so but they did fairly well at it. So yeah, so everybody should check out The Long Walk. The term brotherhood is brought up in there a couple times in a couple different references. They are playing Dog Day Afternoon at the theater next door to me. Never seen Dog Day Afternoon. Um, Upside Down Weekend. We've actually had some Australians on the stream in the past, so maybe we'll see about getting a few more of those. All right, so let's go. Right now, my time says 7:27. Once it hits 7:30, I'm going to press play. I'm going to keep the audio low so it doesn't interfere with kind of me talking and put the closed captioning on.
I'm doing the same.
Um, and at any points, if Igor wants to um, pause something and then say like something's accurate, inaccurate. To my knowledge, they filmed this actually at the Grand Lodge of England, the Grand Lodge of England building. So that makes me think it's probably pretty accurate. Um, yeah, I'm not a fan of I Spit on Your Grave. I'm not a fan of either the original from the 70s um, or the remakes. I have a, that's funny because I read about I Spit in Your Grave in a book. It was like a book documenting horror movies and different styles and genres and how women are portrayed in scary movies. And if you don't know the I Spit on Your Grave, it's a you're not supposed to say this word on YouTube. Uh, it's a rape and revenge film, but a woman who's sexually assaulted and then gets revenge, and it's pretty brutal of a film. But it's I rented it because I read about it and I was so curious as to what all the like hullabaloo about it was, or all the controversy. It's a pretty rough film, pretty rough watch. I did not enjoy it. And then for some stupid reason I watched the remake in 2010. Did not enjoy that either. Um, yes. Um, it is Freemason Knights of Templar Legacy of Secrecy, by the way. That's my dad on there. You've met Igor before. So you have Tubi as well, Pops. So you should be able to find it.
Should we lay some like groundwork down what Knights Templar are, or kind of just a quick gist?
You can, because again, I don't it's more your forte than mine.
I demitted years ago during
I
COVID,
mean,
actually.
the most general, like I always give the general answer, right, which is the Knights
Go on.
Templar is a pendant body in Freemasonry that's part of the York Rite, which is itself an appendant body of Freemasonry. To be a Knights Templar, you must first be a Master Mason. The Knights Templar are not, higher in degrees than a Master Mason in the same way. I'm an 18th degree Scottish Rite. That doesn't make me a higher degree than a Master Mason. Master Mason is the highest degree. Everything else is a concordant body. It's not as though if Igor, as a Knights Templar, is sitting in lodge with me as a Master Mason, he outranks me in the lodge, right? I always try to mention that.
I'd still call you peasant, though.
Well, fair enough, as you should. But you call me that anyways. And yeah, it's named after the original Knights Templar, which existed from approximately, I'm gonna f up these numbers. You probably knows it better than I do. Existed approximately from 1130 something to like 1306 when the King of France ordered them all to be executed. And then eventually their legend was restored through Masonic rituals. Coffee Stain Mug, my favorite username in the entire YouTube lexicon. So how close did I get to it, Igor? How close
It was
was
really
I?
good. Yeah, that's fairly accurate. It's just basically a bunch of guys were hanging around. Because a lot of people at that point were pilgrims to the Holy Land, and so there were a lot of times people getting picked off, things like that. So a bunch of knights that were hanging out near the temples, like, you know what, we should help these guys out and like kind of protect people and stuff, and it's the right thing to do. So they kind of band together, and your dates are fairly accurate actually. And is Philip the Fair, I believe, the French that kind of did that. Problem was he owed money, and he they had a lot of influence because a lot of people were passing away, and as like a charitable act, they would donate their land to the Knights Templar so they could help other people further on. And anyways, there was a thing. A lot of them got executed or disbanded. Problem is, that's only happened really in France. France is only they only had sway in the area, but they also had Knights Templar in England and in the whole distance between France to the Middle East. You also had Malta. You had a bunch of other spots where they were at, and they actually didn't get prosecuted because England would be like, why are you asking me to kill these guys? These guys are actually pretty cool. They're like they help people out and they're pretty chill. So why are you doing this? So they kind of said, yeah, sure, we'll kill them. Wink, and then didn't do anything about it. So they did get disbanded. But a lot of them, if you because we all have like registers, right? Like masonry, you sign in when you go. Even back then, they had those type of things, and so um, you'd see names in registers for Knights Templar, and you'd have similar names in Masonic stuff later on, or actually in the same time period. So there's a hypothesis that people actually that were Knights Templar went to Masonry, but dates about Masonry are also very well debated. When does actually Masonry exist? Not just in the sense that we have now, but even back then, is it before 1000 AD.
1717, June 24, 1717. I mean, that's always been
Official
my
date.
date. The earliest I think you can put it to. By the way, Coffee Stain Mug says Igor should come in sideways. Um, but
So
no, it's too hard. It gives me a crink in the neck. The what was I going to say? The To me, the earliest you can date Freemasonry to would be the Hollywell manuscript. I call it that because it charmed, which dates to 1390, and it lays out the first two degrees. It basically is almost a retelling of Euclid as a geometrician, Euclid's geometry. When people talk, and it uses the term masonry and geometry interchangeably, which comes up in some of our degrees. So that was 1390, right? At that time, though, it was still masonry as in stonework. It was basically a treatise on how to be a good stonemason, but it included a lot of philosophical ideals within it. But I don't think that's again, I don't think you can call that Freemasonry. But even then, the Hollywell manuscript, or it's sometimes called the Regius poem, 1390, the knights were ordered to be killed uh, by the King of France in like 1306, something like that. So basically, there's about 90-year gap between that poem and between the end of the Knights Templar and that poem. So, and then the first speculative Mason uh, that we know for sure was a speculative Mason, someone who joined a Masonic lodge without the desire to actually work on stone, but just to be part of the club, it dates to 1623. No, 1634, excuse me, in Scotland. Uh, but yeah, so I've always been very hesitant to when it comes to the Knights Templar or the Scottish Rite or any of it. I tend to think that a lot of the stuff is just retconned in after the fact, by people looking to create kind of their own rituals. Um, the Ravens, well, yes, Igor, that was part of Telltale Heart, if I recall correctly. But what do you think? Do you think that there's this has come up on the stream a lot actually in the past? Do you think, Igor, there's like a direct link between the end of the Knights Templar and Freemasonry?
No, I believe it's like hearsay speculation. Very creative thoughts were put into it, is how I really think of it. Um, it meant well. That's one of the things. But yeah, there's other things you have to think about. So there's Knights Templar weren't the only ones. You still have Teutonic Knights. They actually never disbanded. There's speculation they're still around. It's hereditary orders. They've been passing from generation to generation for I don't know how long. That's more like a German thing. They also um, sorry, I sometimes read the comments and it took me off by
Pennywise the Dancing Clown, otherwise known as
yeah,
Red
yeah,
Lightning. He's been on the
yeah.
stream many times. It's great to have him back.
Yeah, that took my train of thought away. We also had other organizations that were linked to the Crusades, the Hospitaliers. I'm bad at French, but the people that were doing basic hospital work. There was a bunch of orders. Knights Templar were just wealthy, so they got attacked as things tend to go. They were a banking system. They're the first ones to actually have promissory notes, so you could instead of walking around with tons of gold on you, you could actually just have this thing in piece of paper, bring it to a different bank, and they're like, okay, yeah, that's your money.
You've been to a lot of my lives, Pennywise, so it's great to have you. And Rondo, thank you for being here. Like one of my favorite quotes, and I think this applies to the Knights Templar and how they ended up at the stake getting burned. I heard the typical way to deal with the Knights Templar by the king was order them to be burned at the stake. Uh, but one of my favorite quotes is, "If you owe the bank $1,000, you have a problem. If you owe the bank $10 million, the bank has a problem." And I think that the King of France in the 13th century owed a lot of money to the Knights Templars, which meant he had a problem. And he chose to deal with his problem in a way that I hope the bank never chooses to deal with me. But I do like Pennywise as a name, Red Lighting, because I love horror movies. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you owe the bank enough money, then suddenly the bank has a problem, and how they deal with that problem can be create some interesting problems for other people.
That's an interesting take. I've never heard it phrased that way. The way I usually hear it is if you wake up in the morning and you're going to work and you come across an a-hole, and just one, then they're the a-hole. But if you wake up in the morning on your way to work and everybody are a-holes, it's probably just you.
That is true. That I've heard that as well. But that's kind of a different because that idea is about like, well, I guess it's the same premise, which is who has the problem, right? Who actually is the problem? Is the
Perspective.
problem right? Is the problem if it's one person you're dealing with who's an a-hole, then the problem's not you. If it's a lot of people, it's you. More the idea of like at a certain point, debt becomes not just debt, but a lot of things, but debt becomes big enough that it stops being like a problem to like if there's some people who are so far in debt that whether they add an extra couple grand to it or not doesn't make much of a difference to them, but it makes a difference to the bank who keeps lending them the money.
Mhm.
By the way, people voted. Um, Most people want you upside down. So maybe at the end of this poll, we'll do that. But for now, so I know we went a little bit past it, but I think we can get started now. So what I'm going to do, I know my dad said he found it. Harry found it. To everybody in Canada, you should have it available. It's called Freemasonry and the Knights Templar. It is on YouTube, or sorry, it is on Tubi, Tubi. We're going to start with season 1, episode 1. Never seen this before, have no idea if it's accurate or not. We're going to find out together. At any given point, Igor, I may hit pause if you want to discuss something. And I'm going to, every now and then I'll show a clip. I don't want to get copyrighted, so I'm going to be very hesitant about how often I show it. But every now and then I'll show a clip. So we'll do a countdown from 5. And by the way, this is RE Reality Films. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, press play.
Let's see what the reduction costs on this were. My guess is from the poster, it's not going to be great.
I mean, like I said, supposedly filmed eerie investigations. Supposedly filmed in UGLE is what I read. But we have a spaceship.
Oh, it's spot
That
on.
seems, we have the Aztecs.
I have closed caption on, but it's not showing anything. Is that the same for you?
Well, I just hear the music, but I don't think they have any actual like audio yet.
Okay. Just want to make sure my stuff wasn't broken.
Eerie Investigations. It's an eyeball with a question mark. A tour of Freemasons. So it is from Freemasons Hall.
Of England, yes. We've come today for you to talk to us today all about Freemasons. Now, many people.
The audio is not bad, but I have my closed captioning on as well.
It's not a secret society. It's a society with some secrets. Is that how you would put it?
I'm not sure if that's how
Okay.
That aspect.
Oh, we lost Igor. I don't know what happened.
Whoops,
There
sorry.
he is.
I was moving. Oh no, what'd I do?
You set your screen to green. So if you have a picture on your phone, you can put it behind you.
Okay. You know what? Come on.
But I think you have to
change?
do it. No, you have to do it beforehand. I don't think you can set the. I don't think you can do it midstream.
That's what she said.
Which movie came out? It came out in is the date 2020.
So people have this misconception about a secret society.
So that's. We can actually pause it here for a second. I'm pausing it at the 2:35 mark. I've talked about this ad nauseum, so I don't think people need to hear Cameron's take anymore. But what is Igor's take on the famous or infamous quote, "We're not a secret society, we're a society with secrets"? What's been your thought of that quote?
Well, from last conversation we had and lodged this month about what they do in the States, I don't think much is secret then, apparently. They had open installation, right?
Yeah.
You can just show up and watch an installation, which is an important aspect of Masonry.
I mean, yeah, I've always been more on the side of we should be as open as possible. For me personally, where I tend to draw the line is the modes of recognition, and the I will talk about the metaphorical meaning behind symbols. But so for example, I'll never say what the G in the square and compasses actually means. I say you got to join for that, even though you can find it online, right? I'll talk about like some of the metaphorical ideas about like stars in a Masonic lodge and what they mean as to kind of representing the heavens and what's, but I'll never say the specific thing they mean or specific thing they reference. It's the metaphor. And again, I will never say the modes of recognition. So the signs, the tokens, all that jazz. But beyond that, I tend to be more comfortable talking about it more. My example I've always given though is I always use. I don't know if you've heard me talk about the family recipe approach or model.
No.
So whenever because I'll get on the chat. That is an old quote, Dad. An old quote for an old man. Not saying you're old or nothing, Dad, but so the example I always give is because sometimes somebody come on the chat and say to me like, "What does the G in the square and compasses mean?" And I'll say, "You got to join to find out." Or they'll ask me if there are secret grips or handshakes, and I'll say, "Maybe you got to join to find out." Right? And their answer is always, "Well, it must be not always, but the ones who are negative on Freemasonry, it must be something nefarious or evil if you're keeping it a secret, right?" And my response has always been, there's lots of different reasons to keep something a secret. If you're lucky enough that in your family you have a special family recipe that was passed down from your grandfather to your father to you, and you want to pass it down to your sons, you're not going to go giving people that recipe on the internet or talking about it outside the family, not because the recipe is evil. Rather, it's a way to strengthen the bonds between you and the past generations of your family, the current and future generations of your family. And in the same way, for me, the reason I don't talk about, confirm or not confirm the modes of recognition, whether there is or is not a handshake, what the G stands for, is because the fact that I know that, and the fact that Igor knows that, the fact that my dad knows that, um, connects me to them in a way that the shared experience of ritual can, if it's kept private. As soon as I start telling everybody what it means, well, that's one less connection Igor and I have, right? Even with my grandfather, who I never met on my dad's side, he passed away before I was born. Knowing that him and I knew some of the same private information makes me feel connected to him in a way that I'd probably feel the same if I got a recipe that came down from him. Because at the end of the day, Freemasonry, we have our jewels and our rings, and they're nice, but the true thing we pass down from generation to generation is the ritual and those secrets. So that's always been my explanation as to why I choose to keep them, but as to what I choose to keep hidden and why I choose to keep it hidden. So that's always been my philosophy.
So what's your take on, let's say, knockoff recipes? If you know what I'm saying.
I assume you're talking about clandestine. I've never been. I'm not nearly as anti-clandestine as a lot of other Masons. My general view is plenty of sand in the sandbox, right? What concerns me is when, so like, let's say I get really cranky at Freemasonry, not that I ever would, but I get really cranky at Freemasonry. I decide to start Cameron's Masonic Order in my bedroom. Just and then charge dues or whatever it is, and have it steal the ritual book and have meetings. It's like, okay, like so long as I'm being honest with everybody who wants to join and explain them, right? Like, yes, you're joining this group, but this is not a recognized Masonic group. If you travel to the States, you can't visit the Detroit Masonic Temple as a Mason. You're not recognized by UGLE. Maybe one day we will be, who knows? But we're not for now, and making sure people understand that, right? So if somebody wants to start their own Masonic group, or call it what you will, they like the symbols, they like certain qualities of it, and they want to start their own club. I mean, it's a free country, they can start their own club, just so long as they're being honest about the fact that they're not recognized, and the fact that, because one of the biggest things we hear about with clandestine lodges, right, is guys have been Masons for 5, 10 years, and then they go to visit a lodge out of state and they're not recognized, right? And it's not their lodge, it's whoever let them join's fault for not explaining to them what recognition was. And then there's obviously the ones that are pure scams, which are, I don't even count those as clandestine. There is something completely different, right? Those are ones where you get a random you get a random email from somebody, send me $5,000 and you'll become, the Order of the Masonic Illuminati, and you send in $5,000 and you never hear back from them again, right? But I wouldn't even count those as clandestine. Those are just some random guy on a computer somewhere sending 5 million emails to people. But yeah, I never get as upset about it as others. And to be fair, a lot of people who knock clandestine Freemasonry, they forget that a lot of clandestine lodges became recognized over time. George Washington was a clandestine Mason once upon a time, right? So were a lot of German Freemasons. So it's one of those things where it's like, I think that word is getting thrown around a little bit. The word has gone on to take derogatory terms, which I don't like. Let people have their whatever. Even the Order of Women Freemasons used to be clandestine. Now would be more like better to be called irregular. But was once upon a time recognized. It was the women's suffrage movement that kind of created the schism. So yeah, I guess that's my view on it. What about yours? What's your view on knockoff recipes, if you will?
I haven't really come across knockoff recipes, but anyone's putting work in, I appreciate, especially if anyone that does good to society and wants to benefit. Like a lot of times when I deal with people that aren't Masons, and they ask if they want to join, one of the things I kind of say is like, "What are you hoping to get out of this?" Because a lot of people are like, "I'm like, if you're hoping for money or like connections or make more sales, things like that, you're not gonna get it. If anything, it's gonna cost you money and it's gonna take up your time." So, and then they ask me, "Well, if that's happening, then why would I even bother joining if it's going to take up money and time? Like, really?" And I'm like, well, there's more to life than that. There's quality of life. There's friends. Friendship can be more valuable in certain things. Like, if someone's got diamonds, yeah, you can sell it, make a lot of money, do whatever. But if you have like a trustworthy friend who you can actually grow up with and have a good time and trust them, or even like lean on them if you have to for tough times. I can say that pretty priceless. And say you have 50 of them. Or I can't say 50. I'll say 12. Let's do a reasonable number. Let's say you have 12 people you can actually fully trust, whether it be a secret or you need a couch to crash on one night. Um, I think that has its own value, even though you can't put that in dollar bills. Um, yeah, that's really how I take away from it. Sometimes time can be too consuming. That's why I stepped away from York. Right, I did mention I was Knights Templar here in Windsor, but I had to take a break from it because I was doing because you can't just go straight to Knights Templar. Like you get your Master Mason and you have to go chapter. Chapter has its own degrees, which are fun. The fourth degree is great, and then you also have like Royal and Select Masters, and then you can actually go Knights Templar, and there's things after Knights Templar, and so people always also ask me about hierarchy, and I'm just like, well, in York, right, we actually don't have members. There's technically we call it orders, right? So you go Order of Malta and various other orders, and that's how you kind of recognize each other. Um, I've never joined Scottish Rite, so it's hard for me to compare. I've always been York Rite, and I've done a lot of degrees in it and a lot of memory work, and I've felt the lectures, and it was a great time. I would never not want to have it, but it's been a blast and it's a good place in my life, and I hope to go back to it eventually. I still have like the hat, the sword, the works, right? Because it's a military order, so you have to use a sword for
And
various
think,
things.
I guess knock on wood, but not going anywhere, right? It's any of these orders, right? People come and go. It's kind of the nature of Freemasonry in general, right? For better or worse. You certainly are one of those guys who you more than earned time away, right? Because you put so much time into it. But it's tough, right? And the hope is always going to be that when you step back, you return later on, if not to the same whatever it is, then something. So even like I wouldn't know how amalgamations would work, but even in Freemason, right? You step away from your lodge, you hope that there's something to return to, even if it's not the same lodge. Maybe it's amalgamated or whatever it might be. You still hope to return to Freemasonry. I'm assuming York, right, is the same type of idea, right? Something to return back to. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know if valleys can, or they're not. They're not called valleys. They're called valleys of Scottish, right? Like your jurisdiction in York, right? Right.
Well, different bodies have different names. Preceptory is what we call for the Knights Templar, and the other ones we tend to call councils. I think someone. You think you had a degree? You think you had a little discussion about AMD before? I think I saw it one of
Yeah, a
your
little bit of one. Yeah, it's not something I know
AMD.
very much about.
AMD is a small body within York, right? It's interesting because they pull out like ancient degrees that were done a long, long time ago, and then fill in the blanks. So it's kind of like hunting for dinosaurs. You kind of get a couple pieces, you have to fill in the rest, and you hope that's what the dinosaur was like.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, and that I think so much of what I mean, once you get into Masonic history, and I've always been honest, right? It's not my forte, Masonic history. I know enough to be conversant in it. Um, but once we get into the weeds, it's not my forte. Although on my birthday, I'm going to be doing a 24-hour live stream, and part of that's going to be talking about the history I know of. But once you start to kind of study it more closely, you realize a lot of what you're looking at is actually copies of copies of copies and people's guesses as to what may have been meant there. Um, and Preston and Webb then come along and they start adding their own stuff to it. And then Albert Pike, every non-Mason's favorite Mason, adds his own stuff to it. And it kind of so much of what you're dealing with is not what you expect. And it is almost you're almost as much a detective and an artist as you are a Masonic historian. Some of these guys. So yeah, that's really cool. You also mentioned something else, which I talked about this before when I got my psychological first aid training. Um, we talked about right having a group of friends where, if you need a couch to crash on, if you maybe need some financial assistance or help, whatever it is, right? People you can rely on. Well, I was saying one thing I think lodges should do. We don't do this in my lodges, though we should. It's worth, for example, having a list somewhere of any Masons who may have a spare bedroom or a spare couch or have the room to hold somebody, and also like the nature of their like where they're living. So for example, if an older individual or somebody who's mobility impaired loses their home in a fire, you have a list of like, these are some of the places you can go to crash, and these are the places where it's like there's wheelchair accessible, or you can make it up or down, right? Little things like that can make a big difference. By the way, Rondo, right now we are 7 minutes and 10 seconds in. If you want to be watching along with us at the same time.
So, the best you can. Everything you do in your private and your public and your work life.
Mhm. If we can just talk about the lodges and how many there are,
You know,
and how big
I'm gonna
Freemasonry
press the pause button. I'm pausing at 7:34. So this is always I do appreciate, like, this has always been my big argument as to the importance of Freemasonry. I tend to focus more on Freemasonry as a community institution, as opposed to a more the esoteric side of it, which has never really interested me that much beyond the capacity for ritual to create bonds through shared experiences. For me, it's always been more the community nature of it, and what he's talking about here. I should have wrote down this guy's name. That to me is kind of the core of a lot of what Freemasonry does best. One example I always think of is the movie Lincoln from 2012. I loved this scene near the end where Lincoln is talking to the Confederate generals the Confederate generals who are giving basically surrendering. And they're talking about, like, is there any point in trying to be democratic again? Half the country hates the other half. We just ended up having this big fight, right? And then Lincoln says, well, like, whether it's worth it, whether it's will be easy or not, or like whatever the challenges are, if we as a country can demonstrate to the rest of the world that we can have brothers fighting brothers and families fighting families, and then when it's all over, come together um, and still use democratic ideals to solve problems moving ahead, despite whatever hurt there may have been, is worth it. And to me, Freemasonry is the same idea of, like, especially in 2025, not to get into the politics of the moment, but the fact that there is still an organization that exists that welcomes men of different faiths and different political beliefs and different ages and different backgrounds and different races and come from different places and speak different mother tongues and have rich or poor, and the fact they can all come together under a lodge and actually work with some type of harmony, not as much as people think, but work with some type of harmony in order to build something beautiful. I think that having that exist in the world is ultimately a good thing for the world to see, and for the world to understand it is actually possible. Um, you can see it in other areas too, but with, like, religious organizations, they're all of one religion, right? With trade unions, they're all of one trade. Freemasonry is one of the few places where it's actually a true melting pot, right? And even women, I always point out the Order of Women Freemasons and Eastern Star brings that into Freemasonry on that side of it. I don't know what you would think of that, but
I disagree.
fair enough. Let me know why. By the way, Larry Wilson is here. Freemasonry needs younger people to survive, but typically people who are more mature go further, network and support. People might be more scholarly and resourceful who will study the deeper aspects of the majority, but it's not practical. Economics triumphs moral. I wouldn't say that. I don't think economics triumphs moral philosophy, but economics is relevant. Certainly, I've talked a lot about Freemasonry and economics. But I think it's more advantageous than not, though, Larry Wilson. That's my point. I think it's more advantageous than not. I think Freemasonry shows why it's advantageous to focus on cooperation and not tribalism. But sorry, Igor, go ahead. I was just letting Larry know where I see him.
It's all good. He's got number 2 next to his crown, so I think he's earned the right to have his voice heard, at least.
You're number 57 in my heart, Igor, if that makes it feel better.
I'm surprised I'm that high up, actually. I thought it'd be far lower. The way you describe it as a melting pot, I find it distasteful. I find it more of a mosaic, which we actually emphasize the differences to show that we are special in our own ways, basically. Not to sound too like after school special, but I have to appreciate everyone's differences to make us great. I'm a great ritualist in lodge, but that doesn't mean I'm good with a secretary or other things, right? I can do my pieces exceptionally well, people would say, but there's other things which I lack, and we need other people that are good at those things to do that for the benefit of the lodge. And after so when I was junior warden and stuff, I had to make sure I didn't have at least a non-pork item for some people, and then the Hindu guy didn't eat any meat at all, or other vegetarians, and so yes, I had to cater to them some way. So you always got to know them as well, not just through what they do, their family, and the good times we have, but you also get to know the diet and beliefs, and you also get to know more about beliefs. So I will talk about the Bhagavad Gita to the Hindus that we have, and I've read a lot of religious texts because I think it's important to understand other people, and so you can relate to them and see how we're not just different, but we're actually at the same time. So
I've been trying to read some religious texts, because as a Mason, I understand we're going to have men coming in from different faiths, and I want to have some basis of understanding. I've talked a bunch of times on the stream about my kind of religious beliefs or lack thereof, right? I believe in a supreme being. I tend to be somewhat standoffish of religion per se. But I want to know the basics so I can be conversant with the brethren of the different faiths, right? But the idea of knowing the strengths of each individual member, to what extent is that on the lodge to ask about those things, and to what extent is it on the member? So, for example, at the investigation process or the application process, should the lodge be talking to the member about, or the potential member about what are your strengths, what do you enjoy doing, what are you good at, and then figuring out if those strengths and talents can fit well into a lodge and in what ways they can. So if the brother says, I'm really good at website design, does the lodge then try to encourage him to, if he joins, to assist with developing the website? The guy says he's a great cook. Do you make him a steward and give him, tell him to assist the junior warden? How do we make sure that the unique strengths of our membership are being adequately utilized within the lodge?
Well, I wouldn't say utilized. I'd say Masonry's all about guidance and teaching. So if a person's a great cook, don't make him cook all the time, but help him help you improve your skills by giving you pointers. Just like I've asked accountants for help on certain finances. I've asked people their specialty on whatever they do in life to guide me on the problems where I'm lacking, because not everyone is perfect. I do want to jump in a little bit real quick for Larry Wilson's comments. So karma does not exist, so no natural restrictions to act moral. Yes and no. Obviously, you can say the whole Assassin's Creed thing where it's everything's permissible, because sure, why not? Everything's permissible. You can do what you want, but there's always consequences for whatever action you do. Yes, everything's permissible, but you got to pay for it some way or another. So I know Darwin, where I left the book, talks about the survival of the fittest, but there's actually more sociology after the fact that they realized that the species that existed up until our time, or at least a good amount that were able to show survival skills, were through cooperation. This is also why you don't have certain birds that are different species, but they're both eat different things. They can hang out. Certain things like seagulls and sparrows and certain things can eat. I'm sorry, I'm reading his next comment. People don't have to like each other, but whenever you can establish different guidelines and foundations, can create a better society. Yes, cooperation is a keystone of civilization. For sure. That's basically when we first started, when might's not right. Because back in the day, it's like, I'm the strongest, I'm taking whatever I want. And then society turns on itself because there's different kinds of strength and things like that. That wasn't the way to do it. And a lot of people at first figure out, let's work together, let's plan, let's use reasoning, logic. They're the ones that came out on top. Yes, there's different ways to enslave people. I'm not going to say, oh, society is great and things like that. We found different ways to enslave people, either through finance or physically in history times. So, or even just withholding food. There's tons of ways to get people to do what you want. So even reason, I always find reason to be a kind of tool. It can be used for good or evil. And I'm going to discuss what good or evil actually means, but I figure to benefit of society, the same tools that can help society can also destroy society. So if those who want to destroy it, they're permitted to destroy it, but we're all going to suffer. And so it's something we'll have to pay together. So one of the things that came up at a meeting, not meeting, dinner last night with my girlfriend and her family is we talk a lot about AI came up, right? Because AI is going to be a tricky thing for our society. We have to discover how to use it appropriately, since it's going to be a tool that can affect all of our stuff. And as long as we use it right, it'll be good. If we don't, it sucks. And my final, last little hurrah thing about everything's permissible. The two things I always find about humanity is that there's first, humans try to be as lazy as possible a lot of times, and on average it's part of our wiring. We don't want to expend a lot of energy, so we try to be lazy. And the second thing is people want like fame or recognition. So if you do something bad, somebody out there wants to do something even worse just to top you. So that's another thing. So if we start letting people do too many things that are permissibly bad, that also spirals out of control. That's it.
Well, the I don't know whether karma is real or not. I think it depends how you define karma. Um, but the idea of like one of the things I love about Freemasonry is the way that it, in a metaphorical sense, equates morality with moral truth or moral truths, right? And I think that's the best way to do it. The idea that if there is geometric, if you can use geometry to prove an ordered universe, at least mathematically ordered, then you could probably assume some type of moral order as well. Like going back to the movie Lincoln, another great example of that. And I actually want to get somebody on to talk about this. Abraham Lincoln in the movie, Abraham Lincoln is basically is faced with a moral question, and the way he chooses to answer that question will determine whether he basically ends the war before ensuring that slavery has ended, or whether he continues the war for longer, but doing so to ensure that slavery will end before the war actually finishes. And the way he comes to his decision is he references Euclid and Euclid's principles, right? He references, I think, the second proof of Euclid, to make, and he's referencing a mathematical text, but for a moral purpose, which supposedly he may have done in real life because he famously traveled with Euclid's theorems when he was a traveling lawyer. He would go from town to town representing clients, and at night he would read his geometry textbooks. And so I think with Freemasonry, to me, whenever it talks about geometry or the order of the universe or things of that nature, what it's really saying is that there is actually a moral quality to the universe, a moral quality to existence. And if we can understand the geometrical qualities to it, we can probably understand the moral qualities to it as well. Larry Wilson, at least that's my theory on that. Larry Wilson, one of the reasons why people don't pursue Freemasonry is because they feel it's not practical. I mean, the question is, what goals do they want to achieve, right? You're not wrong. It's just, if somebody's goal is, I want to make as much money, if I want to be the next Andrew Tate, they probably should not join Freemasonry, right? If the goal is to get as much money as they can and get as much women, whatever Andrew Tate so professes, if the goal is to try to build a better world, or at least build a better community, then maybe they should look into Freemasonry. And yes, conspiracy theories are definitely a part of it. But utility is a lot of different things, right? What is the utility of a beautiful painting? You know, utility is very much in the eye of the beholder. All right. Anything else to add before I hit the play button once again?
Sure, I'll throw in. He says that people don't see the practical aspect of it. Masonry was never actually meant to be for everyone. It's literally meant to be for individuals, or I don't want to say philosophers, but people who think a lot, or at least feel a lot. Let me put it that way. And it never was meant to be for everybody. And I do feel like you're saying that maybe society is tougher these days, or we're under more pressure from different areas in life, and are far more distracted. So maybe there is less people, or people that would be Masons are can't see that path, or distracted doing something else, or just don't have the time and energy because with rising costs, things like that. Even masonry costs are rising to be a member of a lodge, wherever you are, and everyone to some degree is struggling. So I understand why you say, "Hey, it's not practical," or "It's not for me." I totally get that. It was never meant to be for everybody, and masonry has its ups and downs, no doubt about it, pros and cons, the works. But for me personally, I feel like it has been a central part of my life and has been a benefit through and through.
And it's. I mean, I've got into a little bit of trouble with the idea of
That's an understatement. That is an understatement.
that isn't. And I've got into a lot of trouble for a lot of different things, but I got into a little bit of trouble for my idea of personality testing applicants a while ago, and the idea that there may be some type of consistent personality traits that respond more favorably to Freemasonry versus not. But I do suspect there's something there, because a lot of people now ask me, why, what is it I love about Freemasonry? My answer is usually, I just like the way it sounds. And what I mean by that is, I use the metaphor of music, right? My favorite song in the world is Simple Man by Leonard Skinner. My second favorite is actually Become Prodigal by Blacktop Mojo. I mention that because that's a band that needs more love in the world, but because they're so good. But Igor can hear the same song. He's hearing the exact same notes that I'm hearing, the same words, the same whatever. And he may love the song, he may hate the song, he may be indifferent to the song, right? It's not about the song itself. It's about something within me that's responding to, and whether it's just something within me that is just part of how I was born and a natural disposition, whether it's what's happening in my life when I'm hearing that song. Like with Blacktop Mojo, I heard it at a particularly uh, good time in my life, so it kind of stuck with me in that sense. Um, a combination of all of the above, right? It's like the things you love choose you. You don't choose them, right? And so, two or three people. I had this experience, right? I went through my first 2 degrees with somebody else. Um, Another entered apprentice, and he was my fellow. He was a fellow craft with me. He never got his master mason. To my knowledge, he demitted. Um, I don't know when it was, but it's one of those things where it's like, him and I went through the same thing, as close as you could be to the exact same thing. We had the same exact people giving the ritual to us and taking us through the degrees. And for some reason, there was something about me that responded to it in a way that he didn't when he responded to it. So I do wonder if there's something that is not better, though I think Freemasons are better, but something different about me, Igor, my dad, whatever it is, that that Freemasonry hits us in a way that it doesn't other people. Maybe if we tested for that beforehand, we might have a better idea of the traits that bring people, that not just get people interested in Freemasonry, but keep people in Freemasonry once they join. I don't know what you think about that. I know a lot of people don't like the idea of personality testing because, from a scientific perspective, it's very wishy-washy, especially the Myers-Briggs. Um, there's not a ton of good science backing it up, but I don't know. It seems like there's something there.
So we'll address Larry's comments first. It is like college fraternities. I've actually had brothers, Masonic brothers, come from college fraternities. So it's funny. The one guy, I can't mention a name because I already messed up earlier. But the one guy,
We never said the person was or was not involved in the craft. We just said somebody we know.
I don't
Could be
know
anybody.
anything. I know nothing. I don't know. I know anyway. But anyways, so he was in a college fraternity. He joined Masonry. He's been a Mason for a long time. And then he ended up being in the same college fraternity. We say university here, but anyways, the same university fraternity that my biological brother is. I see him all the time. But and so he gets to see both aspects of it. He tells me that it's very similar, and he just likes being in similar groups of people and being in the know. Right, we get newsletters every month and kind of see what's going on and what's going on with the rest of the brethren, and if anything happens in their life, kind of be there for them, or even just join activities. Oh, that baseball game that we had, except for the one team had a ringer, was a great baseball game. It was such a wonderful time. You should have played more. You didn't play at all that time.
I was I was busy. I was out doing flips today, so I've done my athletic work for the my athletic responsibilities for the month. I do one flip a month. OTO, Amorc. What's Amorc? I know OTO. I'm trying to think what Amorc is. Yeah, OTO though, I know that one. I'm learning more about it because it gets lumped in with Freemasonry all the time. No, people like everybody's struggling with the same things. Freemasonry is actually doing better than most other civic organizations, which in and of itself is scary when you consider the ways that Freemasonry is struggling. The fact that we're doing significantly better, in my understanding, than Knights of Columbus, Rotary. Um, but everybody's kind of struggling with some of these issues and some of these questions as to both getting membership and then getting membership to remain engaged. Um, Rosicrucianism. Okay. I've done actually a podcast about Rosicrucianism a while ago. But we're not unique in our struggles by any means. Um, but yeah, no, and what I mean, Bowling Alone and then Join or Die both discuss this idea. Join or Die sounds more ominous than it is, but it's a movie about um, the danger of as people retreat from civic society, they're more likely to die earlier due to because loneliness carries with it several health risks and health dangers. Right? It's according to one report, being lonely puts you at greater risk for premature death than smoking, excessive drinking, or bad diet, and I believe it. So. Uh, Even in smaller towns, you do. I mean, sometimes smaller towns can have a really strong Masonic lodge. Often it really struggles. What do you think about the point I made? And now I can't think of the point I made. Personality testing, personality traits as being um, possible for Freemasonry, or as being something that can predict to what extent someone will remain active and engaged within Freemasonry.
Me personally, when I think of it,
Yeah.
I don't think it's great. Like just because it's just like the justice system. You know what? It's better to let say one person that may be guilty free than to imprison a person that is innocent. So I'd rather let someone come into masonry that might not work for them than deny a person who masonry would be great for.
Yeah, fair enough. Right? And because nothing is predictable with 100% accuracy, we run the risk of using that, and maybe it gets it right 5 out of 7 times, but those other 2 times it gets it wrong, two people who could love Freemasonry don't get in, or something to that extent. Um, yeah, Larry, I'm gonna have to plead a lot of, well, I guess more laziness than ignorance on this, right? I did a podcast about Rosicrucianism. I used to know a little bit about it, but I really have not kept up on it. And honestly, I can't remember most of what I learned. The podcast was 3, 4 years ago. Dude from Italy. Yeah, mysticism. Again, I tend to be wary of mysticism, not just in Freemasonry, but mysticism in general. I like it. I like it from a like an entertaining perspective. Like I love ghost hunts. I love ghost tours. I find those things fun. Um, but and even on this podcast, you'll find I tend to focus on the more practical um, Well, I know I'm Rose-Croix, and Rose-Croix is connected to Rosicrucianism, but it's not a direct lineage, and there are differences, right? There are plenty of Rosicrucians who are not Freemasons. Um, for like one of my streams last week was talking about ways to send emails to ensure they don't go through the spam folder and make sure they get read. So I tend to focus more on that as opposed to the mystical side of Freemasonry.
Once again, I have to disagree. So mystics, it's basically having an experience worth having, is how I'd consider it, right? You're having an ethical experience where you feel connected to God or dissolved into reality, things like that. Experiences that shape your life for the rest of your life. And if you're not having, you should have some kind of least lower level mystical experience during lodge in order to be relevant or to affect you. If you're just having a common bond, sure, that's great, whatever. But if you have an experience that actually changes you for the better, and that is far more important than the social bond that you have. Philosophy, I love philosophy, and I believe that's an important part too. But for the mystical experience, I find that's really important because for a Freemason, I'm very anti-dogmatic. Like, I don't like people telling me necessarily for certain things what I should feel or not feel, or that's why I'm trying to think of this how to say this like politically correct. So on the say like Orthodox Church, they're very pro hermits, per mystics, like feeling God. But on the West side, or let's say Catholicism, they want to regulate it more because it kind of leads to heretics, I guess, or people that inflate their own ego. But I believe a mystical experience, if done correctly, can be a life changing experience.
I
Agree.
mean, so Chuck Dunning, he uses the term initiatic experience. He's
Okay.
a Masonic author out of Texas. Actually, I'm on the podcast, and he's wrote a book. I can't remember what it's called now. Practicing Freemasonry, I think. Anyways, he would agree with you, as would another brother called um, Randy Sanders, who he's also big on the idea of Freemasonry as an initiatic experience, or in some ways a mystical experience. I think I don't want to put words in their mouth, but based on my conversations with them and my readings of their work, they would basically argue the success of Freemasonry or um, the success of Masonic Lodge or Masonic experience uh, depends on the extent to which an individual is changed or moved in the process of becoming a Freemason. Um, right. I've always tended to define it as, the success of a Masonic lodge is based on how relevant that Masonic lodge is to both the members and the community, in whatever ways it is, whether it be economically by supporting local businesses, or whether it be through benevolence, or whether it be through providing social support or bonding. Um, but like, I think if you were to ask Randy Sanders, he would say, and I think I talked about this, and he was on the podcast. If John Smith joins Freemasonry, has an amazing initiation, and feels greatly changed by that initiation, and never comes back to lodge, it's still a successful Masonic career. Whereas I guess it's the internal versus. I tend to be more the external qualities of Freemasonry as a relevance test, whereas I think the the Chuck Dunnings would say and Randy's would say it's the initiatic experience, which is an interesting. I think that's kind of an interesting um, divide we're seeing, right? But the fact that you and I can have that divide, and you're still number 57 on my list, but still do so much for Freemasonry together, should probably say something that these two ideas are probably more complementary than opposite.
Oh yeah.
That's right. You can find his podcast somewhere on my channel. Maybe I'll put a link to it after.
So then also like about changing a person. So say you have $10,000. You can give either 10,000 people $1 or one person $10,000. Which one has the greater effect?
It's close for me, but I'd probably say the one person 10,000. But the 10,000 people so the 10,000 people $1 would not have a lot of effect. But I can't do math. 1,000 people $10 would probably have a bigger effect than one person 10,000. Because I mean, if you're talking about for the individual, it's one thing, but if you give 1,000 people $10, those 1,000 people are going to spend that $10 relatively quickly. The economy is going to feel it. But if it's 10,000 people with $1 or one person with 10,000, it'd be the one person with $10,000 would be the bigger effect.
So the whole thing that I find it's like Freemasonry. There's actually no correct answer. And the whole point is to make you think. I believe that introspect and figuring out your values and your beliefs are really important, even though exercises like that might be pedantic or like, I don't want to say trickery, but I think it's important to get people to think about where they stand on everything so they can develop who they are as people. And Thelema and your finding your true will, I think would matter. I have the Golden Dawn book of their degrees, but it's by Israel Regardi. Or I can't read it from here, but I've read it before. But I find it a little interesting.
Coffee stain mug. If anybody wants to send me $10,000, I promise I'll do my best to spend it well. It'll be income, so it might get taxed a little bit, but it's still worth it. It's still worth it. People have brought up Aleister Crowley a lot to me in the past. I don't think he was actually. Speaking of, I don't think he was actually a legitimate Freemason. Supposedly, he was initiated in Mexico, but didn't tell anybody. Golden Dawn, yeah, never read it, but
it's got a lot of ritual work. It's pretty nuts. But there's a lot of relation to Freemasonry in there.
Well, no, yeah, like I said, I'm not convinced. Well, but I don't even think he joined the lodge in Mexico. I think he just told people he did. There's never been any actual proof that he joined, to my knowledge. There's never been any and then I think he joined later on Lodge of the Grand Orient or something. I don't know. But I think when he said that he went to Mexico and told people he joined a lodge there, and I don't think anybody's ever found any proof of it officially. I think he might have just said it. All right. Not to cast aspersions on your friend and mine, Aleister Crowley. All right. We keep pausing this movie.
I'm sorry, I have to jump in one more time. So we're talking about a controversy to some degree. So the other one that comes up is people they like to quote like Masons or Masonic individuals written stuff. So there's this one book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. He actually wrote the book before he became a Mason. So people look for Masonic stuff in it. Yeah, he did a lot of research. It's really good. My version's busted like mad. But yeah, it is interesting reading and stuff, but people try to find official Masonry in there, which isn't always accurate because he wasn't a Mason when he first wrote it, but I think he wrote stuff after when he was a Freemason.
Yeah, no, it's come up a few times in the stream. And a quote I've grown to like is, and you could substitute Albert Pike for Manly P. Hall or Aleister Crowley, but it's Masons know Freemasonry from being Masons, and non-Masons know Freemasonry from Albert Pike or Manly P. Hall, or do you got it? Do you got More Than Dogma? Is that what we're reaching for? There you go. I read that so long ago.
Did not like it.
I saw More Than Dogma. I saw the name of it.
Yeah. I didn't like it though. Albert Pike, but yeah, I wasn't that big of a fan of it. Should be told.
I liked Albert Pike's views on democracy. Beyond that, I was not a huge fan of the rest of it. Right. I like. I mean, in general, I like Freemasons' views on democracy. It's why, depending who you ask, it's why the Catholic Church, dislikes us. One of the reasons is because Freemasonry expresses through its actions, if not its writings, a belief that authority is granted through democratic processes, whereas the Catholic Church was concerned because that implied that authority was not derived from, divine sources and considered it a threat to their their leadership in Europe. Prince Hall, that's very true, but you're a Mason, right? You're a Prince Hall Mason, right? Or no, you're not. I forget if you are a Mason or not. But Prince Hall, very, very um, great. I mean, I didn't know him obviously, but from everything I've read and learned about him, a great man and a great Mason. Um, Prince Hall is one of those things that I have mixed feelings about it, right? Because on the one hand, you hate the fact that it formed because a lodge in Boston was racist and basically didn't want a black man to be part of the lodge, right? They use the excuse of being an ex-slave, but so you hate the fact that it formed through kind of the ugliness of humanity, but at the same time, it ended up creating, a pretty incredible Masonic organization that is all around the world, that has its own rituals that have, in some cases, been incorporated to Freemasonry and vice versa. That's just a very valuable part of the craft. And we have Prince Hall in Ontario. They can meet in our lodges. We've met with them. One of those things where it's like out of the douchebaggery that is humanity, something really good developed. And Prince Hall is, Grand Lodge of Ireland should get some credit for that as well, as should Grand Lodge of England for chartering those lodges at the start when Boston refused. But yeah. So
When
anyway,
they create, when then they first like meet up or were constituted in like 1775, like real a long time ago.
yeah, no, Prince Hall was constituted. So again, I don't know the dates. Somebody can correct me in the chat if you want to look it up. But
Can't you just
so
look up? I think it's 1775 if I'm
I
correct.
could. You're probably right. That sounds about right.
Prove me
But
wrong.
well, it was 17. September 29th, 1784.
Oof.
Right. And so obviously, I'm not saying that Prince Hall, for a long time, the way that racist Masons were able to um, uh, argue for, um, was able to argue for keeping black men out of the craft was to say they could be slaves or ex-slaves and allowing them in. They could share secrets with their master, whatever it is, which was baloney. It was just a way to keep them out. Or even their ex-slaves, right? But I believe that's the excuse they used when it came to Prince Hall, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so 1784, famously, he applied for a lodge in Boston, was declined. So they went first to the Grand Lodge of Ireland, Prince Hall and 14 other Masons, and they got chartered out of the Grand Lodge of Ireland first. And then eventually, if I recall correctly, they got a second charter eventually out of United Grand Lodge of England, and then Prince Hall Freemasonry was formed after that. Welcome, Mr. Keeps, and thank you, by the way, Mr. Keeps, for keeping me well fed. I put something on social media. I have the best fans, and my fans send me food and coffee, which is wonderful. My favorite thing. So thank you, Mr. Keeps. We got Igor here. We keep trying to watch a movie and we keep failing. You
We're
should be able
getting
to
pretty
watch.
sidetracked every time. Every time sidetracked. Yeah, I don't know how we keep on going odd
But by the way,
tangents.
I'll just let Mr. Keeps know. You should be able to watch this. I believe you have access to it. Tubi. So TUBITV.com. We are currently watching Freemasonry and the Knights Templar. We are season 1, episode 1. It's paused at 7 minutes and 34 seconds. But yeah, the Prince Hall Masons, and like I said, they're a great part of the craft.
First of all, you were correct. I thought I had the wrong date. My bad. Have you actually been to a Prince Hall lodge? Because I've met Prince Hall Masons. They've been in our lodges, but I actually haven't visited a Prince Hall lodge. And I'm curious if you have.
I have, in a couple different occasions and events. There was some the grand. Actually, so that's not quite true. I've never been to a Prince Hall meaning the Prince Hall like Prince Hall Temple, but there was a couple of initiatives put on between the Grand Lodge of Ontario, Canada, and the Grand Lodge of Michigan. And I remember one event, it was 3 degrees in one day, different candidates each time, but it was a Grand Lodge of Michigan, if I'm getting the order correct, a Grand Lodge of Michigan first degree. Then Prince Hall, Michigan did the second degree, and then Ontario put on a third degree. So everybody could see kind of. So
One
I
of those
did that.
showcases.
And then I went to, when I was in Florida. Well, no, Andre Smith, I don't want to shut up. Ask Igor how regularly I'm quiet when people want me to be quiet. I did, Mr. Keeps. So it was truly appreciated. I took a picture of it. I got it over there. It was very much obliged. So I went to Orlando, Florida. It was actually a layover, but I purposely booked my trip, so I had a 12-hour layover in Orlando, and I went to visit all the lodges I could around the vicinity of the airport. One of them was a Prince Hall Lodge of Florida. Now, technically, we don't have recognition in Ontario with Prince Hall, Florida, so I couldn't actually go to one of their meetings. However, luckily, they weren't having a meeting. They were having a barbecue for families and friends because it was a playoff season. So I got to hang out with Prince Hall, Florida, and eat some absolutely delicious barbecue. It was very, very good food. So I remember that quite fondly. I went to interview a black gentleman for membership. I proved him. He had been a Prince Hall Mason, and at that time, he knew more about Mason than I did. We go through different periods. We know more, we know less, right? There's always somebody who knows more than you. There's always somebody who knows less than you. One of my pieces of advice I always give to people on the stream is, if you're thinking of joining Freemasonry and you ever meet somebody who says they know everything about Freemasonry, at best, they are incorrect. More than likely, they are scammers or lying to you. No one knows everything about any subject. That should be a huge red flag. But yes, Mr. Keeps, it was all awesome and it was truly, truly appreciated. All right. Do you want to try hit this play button again?
Yeah.
All right. So we are 7 minutes, 34 seconds in. QBTV.com, Freemasonry and the Knights Templar. So the show is Freemasonry and the Knights Templar, which is York, which I know you've expressed interest here in the past about the York, right? So that's Knights Templar is part of it. It's episode 1. We're at the 7 minute, 34 second mark, 33 minutes, 26 altogether. I'm going to do a 5-second countdown and then we'll hit play. All right. 5, as I like swallow something. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit play.
Around the world, and when we've talked about that, if we can go right back to the beginning of where Freemasonry
They're
started.
talking funny because they're from United Lodge of England.
You mean they talk about accents?
They talk funny. I can say that because my dad's British. Hello, Ryan. How's it going? And we got Smokey the Clown back. He's doing the hearts. Usually it's him doing the hearts. Traveling lodges in the Army, East India Company. I've always said Freemasonry spread, well, really Freemasonry is a product of the water more than stone, ironically enough, because it's, developed in a seafaring nation and spread through ships. But initially, the way it traveled throughout the globe was either through military expansion and lodges and military bases in the British forces, merchants in the East India Trading Company setting up Masonic lodges in like Hong Kong or Macau, or what you also see in the 70s, 80s, and 90s is people traveling to America for education, for school, and joining Freemasonry, and then traveling back to their home country. You saw that a lot in Middle Eastern, like princes or something going to Harvard, becoming Freemasons, and then bringing it back to the Middle East.
similar basis. They have what we call the same basic principle.
Yes, Ryan. Well, you know Igor. You were there baseball game.
That's basically-
Yeah.
Local traditions, local culture obviously affected. So if I was to go to a lodge, say in Germany or France or Italy, I would recognize the basics, but there might be differences in detail.
It's a really important point. That's one of the things I love about Freemasonry. About that it's a common understanding of the world, but it's different and unique to whatever community you're in at the time.
So everybody knows, even if they're from a different country, how to recognize a Freemason.
Yeah, we have what we call the traditional modes of recognition,
Yeah.
the handshake and signs and passwords, which we don't use indiscriminately, but they use in a Masonic context. It's a way of proving that you are. If I was to go to the USA, and
No worries, Smokey. I just appreciate you being here for however long you can be here for.
turn up with
I'm going to ask this question now, by the way. I hope you guys are watching this movie and enjoying it. Although I'm surprised no Knights Templar stuff yet.
amazing ones.
It's really setting the basic for Freemasonry.
If I have to charge my phone again, I'm surprised it's lasted this long. I'll flip it.
No
I'll go
worries.
sit.
Sort of stories about saying that people make
And just remember, when you're asking this poll question, this is my channel.
So yeah,
We're going to see
It says channel, so everything is permissible.
Coffee Stain Mug, Don't Let Me Down, Smokey, Don't Let Me Down. It is. I mean, it's a little bit drier than I thought based on the cover art, but it's very informative.
standing up to the group.
Exactly. Now, what
Ah,
do you want
so far
to-
Cameron is at 100% of who's more handsome.
Oh,
Yes, the man who will be king is a great example of that.
you turn some people down.
It can happen. Like all membership associations, you are proposed by two members who are very into it.
Who's more handsome, Coffee Stain, me or Igor? Smokey, same thing. I'm your friend, Smokey.
So one of my father, one of my uncles proposed me as the lodge favorite.
Whatever the results, I'll dispute them.
So far, it's 4 votes, 100%. I'm more handsome. You are batting 0%.
I have a nice shirt on, though. Yeah. It's the Eye of Ra.
It doesn't make you more handsome. Thank you, Coffee Stained. Take that.
I'm going to cheese grate my tattoo that we got off together.
We got a lot of tattoos together. There's too many to choose. But at least Smokey said he's sorry for you. He said he's sorry, Igor.
I see how it is. Everyone's turned on me.
They're talking about the following the sacred law, or the fact that you must believe in a supreme being, but the allowance for different types of supreme beings, which is one of my favorite things about Freemasonry. I've said that on this stream before. One of the things I love about it the most is it welcomes men of all different faiths.
The great object to me is the God I worship.
Supreme
Rondo, wow,
So they would-
turning on me here. It's fine. I just shaved. I could grow a beard like that if I wanted.
So you wouldn't have an interview. Basically.
That's it. Not ladies. Apart from that, because one of my great principles.
Yeah, that's right, Smokey. You don't know, but neither does Rondo. For the record, Rondo doesn't know Igor either.
I know Ryan, though. He's got my back.
I don't think he does. I think he voted for me. No, you're not even going to vote for me? That's where it's at? You're not even going to vote for me? He's probably biased because he likes you better.
I didn't give him
I was saying,
emoji.
I ended up not doing a reaction video, Ryan, because I was crying. So it was a very emotionally touching movie. I liked it a lot. It was a very, but it was a very good movie. So I'd recommend everybody watch it. You might want to bring some tissues. It's a scary movie, but it's also a very emotional movie. If you've read the book, you can kind of imagine the tearjerker scenes. But yeah, it was. So I'm going to watch it again, and then I'm going to do an out of theater reaction.
So the watching was actually fairly factual, and you almost send people who want to know about masonry to this show. Be like, oh, you have some questions? Watch this first.
It's just great. Yeah. He is doing a really good job explaining it. I've been reading the closed captions. I don't know how well people can hear it on my side, but he's doing a really good job.
Zero about Knights Templar, but definitely good about Freemasonry.
It was good about the base of it, right? Very it's very dry. Like this was done 2020. I'm surprised that
a foundation.
A foundation, if you will. Yes. I'm at the 14-minute, 48-second mark, by the way. So I'm going to hit the play button again. But we want to know how people can get on together, which we talked about, right? That's kind of one of the ideas.
So,
something must be working because you have members all over the world and thousands, well, 5 million of them actually. So you must be doing something right.
But also doing a lot of things wrong because that number is dropping.
Although it's good in some areas. So it's like certain Toronto ones are doing good. I feel like the middle range ones are the ones struggling the most. Like really large cities, you have such a large population, you're going to draw people anyways, and you can keep your percentage pretty low. If you have millions of people, you can get numbers. And I feel like small towns also are able, certain small towns are able to do good. Remember we went to like Goderich?
To Goderich?
Yeah, remember we went to Goderich? They were doing well?
Yeah.
Well, the tornado was the best thing that ever happened to them, but that's a long story.
No, it was sometimes a crisis can kind of concentrate people's affections towards. By the way, I hit the pause button at 15:37. I'm going to hit play again. They're just saying here, no problem with Indians joining the lodges, talking about Freemasonry in India. Though we could also be talking about Freemasonry in Canada and North America. Our First Nations or Aboriginal peoples. Freemasonry was, again, there was racism in Freemasonry. It exists in the hearts of humans. So unfortunately, it finds expression in everywhere people are. But
I can see the comment.
That, Freemasonry, yeah, Igor can't see the comments, but luckily Freemasonry, I think, does a lot to temper the worst aspects of us, which there's a lot of, and kind of build the better aspects of us, including tolerance and inclusivity. And for a lot of First Nations people in Oklahoma, for example, here with Tecumseh, Freemasonry is one of the few fraternal organizations that would actually allow them to join and be part of the community and all of the social capital that they came with. There's actually a book. I keep meaning to read it. I've got it ordered. I had ordered it a while ago, never came. I forgot about it. I got to check that. But it's a female author. She wrote about early First Nations involvement in Freemasonry. Pretty extensive, to Freemasonry's credit. All right, I'm going to hit play once again. 15 minutes, 37 seconds in. Hiya, Georgie. I can tell you where Hiya, Georgie came from. I don't know if Igor knows.
I've watched it.
There you go. I see what you did there.
Well, I noticed on your website.
Maybe Tim Curry's second best role. His best role was Lou.
There's people from all different walks of life. You know, there's sportsmen and there's poets, there's entertainers. And I noticed Peter Sellers was one of them, and Rudyard Kipling. It's quite a few. So it is interesting that it attracts people from every angle of life.
It does, and again, this is the bringing people together.
Yeah.
We say once you're within Freemasonry and the context of the lodge meeting, everybody's equal, differences of social standing, everything is here, and everybody's equal and has an equal opportunity of serving in the lodge. So we've, having worked when I was running London Museum here with our membership registered for a period, we were always kind of representation of the whole society in our lodges, of everything from ordinary working people up to members of the aristocracy, members of the royal family.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously we're talking about these members who have been members over the decade, well, centuries really. What about women members?
Women can not under the United Land of England, we continued to do this when we were formed back in 1717, when Freemasonry was originated. Of course, the position of women was different in society. They didn't join clubs and associations. We preserved that tradition. But for over 100 years, there has been a system whereby there are female lodges. In fact, the Order of Freemasons celebrated their centenary last year with a huge meeting at Royal Albert Hall last June. They equally are a women-only organisation. We meet at a senior level because anything going on that affects us, we talk about that. But we don't understand each other's one.
Very much appreciate this explanation of the Order of Women Freemasons. I've had a podcast about them. I personally think one of the biggest mistakes we made in Freemasonry was not showing enough love or respect to the Order of Women Freemasons. And even Eastern Star to a lesser extent. We don't always show them the love we should be showing them. But Order of Women Freemasons is a great organization. I'm a believer in there should be a fraternal side of Freemasonry, and it should be exclusive to men joining. And then I have no problem though with an Order of Women Freemasons exclusive to women joining. And they're a good group of people. Mentioning co-Freemasonry, which I'm not personally a fan of, but everybody, people can create their own clubs, like I talked about before. People are welcome to do what they think is best for their clubs and organizations. Yes.
The same ceremony.
I forget his name. Mr. Steve with the British flag, Union Jack. Hello.
It's a fantastic building, and the architecture around here is absolutely amazing because it's Freemasonry. So I guess a lot of work and time has gone into building this place. But just before we leave this fantastic room, if you can just tell us about this.
Yeah, you call it that, Freemasonic sorority. It's actually funny. I learned that the Order of Women Freemasons, they call themselves brothers. You think they call themselves sisters, but they still call themselves brothers. More the idea of the brotherhood of man, brotherhood of humankind.
You've brought us to this fantastic room, and the architecture in here is just amazing. But the room itself actually holds the memorial to the soldiers who died, I believe, in the First World War. And this is the casket. If you could tell us about this.
This is the memorial casket, and it's got a roll in it which can be turned, which lists the nearly 3,000 English Freemasons who were killed on
I'm going to just pause for just 1 second. 20 minutes and 1 second. So Ryan, if you want to watch with us, we're watching Freemasonry and the Knights Templar, Legacy of Secrecy. We're watching it on Tubi. You can watch along with us. Exactly, Rondo. That's a good way to think about it. So you go to tubitv.com and you type in Freemasonry and the Knights Templar. We're watching season 1, episode 1. We're 20 minutes in. I'll give you a second to find it if you want. It'd be great to have you. By the way, we had the Union Jack fella on, Steve, Mr. Steve. I don't think I've seen you on before. Please hit like and subscribe. Just so you know, I'm Igor. I'm Cameron. That's Igor over there. If you want to know the poll question or who to answer. Who's more handsome? Just so you know, Cameron is more handsome. Yeah, Tubi, you do get ads sometimes. Though I've been lucky, I haven't got any ads yet. Have you got any ads, Igor, watching this?
Yeah.
Well, so part of the problem is you guys may not have an actual account. You can sign in for free. I promise you this isn't, I'm not paid by Tubi. But if you actually get an account, you get less ads. So
You kind of on me for me. You blanked out, so I think Tubi
No,
got to you.
it reconnect. The Tubi got to me. It reconnected for a second.
No, I don't have a channel. I just pop on cameras. Like last time Karen and I did this one, wasn't it From Hell or was it Stonecutters we did? I think it was the
No,
last one.
it was dislodged. It was like
Oh yeah, that was like Psych. It's a good show. No, I don't have my own channel, but I pop on Cameron's and we talk about pop culture and other weird stuff.
just an ugly the stream up. 7 votes.
Cameron improved his look. He's going for a darker look.
It's look at this. Now it's like 62-38. Igor's making a comeback slowly but surely. Oops. You can't see this because for some reason YouTube hid the comment. But Rondo says the sexiest Canadians on the internet. I'll take it. That's my next tattoo. That's my next tattoo. The sexiest Canadians on the internet.
You're gonna put on your
Cameron
ass.
said Downey. Exactly. That's fine. We can say that. That's where it's going. Underground Thomas. I'll take the Gord Downey connection. I mean, Wheat Kings is one of my favorite songs. Not just hip songs, but just favorite songs. I used to listen to that on repeat all the time. Well, I got these are my blacks, is what I call them, because I'll switch off a little piece of advice, non-Masonic advice, but for wrestling. For wrestling, if you ever are getting involved in professional wrestling, buy a whole bunch of shirts that are either completely black or mostly black with maybe like a little bit of white and no
I don't see him. Not at all. That's why I say going for a darker look. Because I just have black screen where you are. It's improved your look though. You look great. I think everyone should vote for you now.
Wait, has he come back? Am I still blacked out?
Still blacked out.
Hold on just one sec. I don't know why. You can hear me.
No.
What happened here? What did I do to YouTube? Clearly YouTube is judging me harshly. Yeah, it's just but at least you can hear me. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to keep going with this, and I'm going to see if I can figure out how to fix this screen.
Awesome.
But we're going to hit the play button again.
Is this your first day?
You were saying black because it's wearing a black shirt, and that's a wrestling thing. I always wear black to so if you're like behind the scenes or something, you don't stand out, you don't interfere. I'm hitting play, and I'm going to figure out why we lost my video.
In the First World War.
It must be a Masonic conspiracy.
Oh, your symbol came back though. It says square and compass, and that's it.
Okay.
Say it again. Sounds like you're muffled now.
Oh, probably just have my thing.
Okay.
So they decided to rebuild Freemasons Hall as a memorial to those.
Wonder if I switch this around for 1 second.
Can
you see my computer screen?
Yes, you can.
Memorial. The whole building.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay. Well, I don't know what happened there. That's right. I'm doing more secret shit, Smokey. I'm a Mason after all. Going back to what I was saying, wear black if you're going to professional wrestling school. If you're backstage at a show, you can be used as an extra, and it's safe. You're not going to get like copyrighted for a logo or something.
And it just absolutely took my breath away because myself as an artist.
And actually, I'm going to show this, even though it risks copyright, but that's okay. This is
the ceilings, which we'll show on camera in a while. But it's absolutely amazing. So a lot of time and dedication has gone into that.
Check out this beautiful. You can kind of see the stained glass in the background there. I mean, Freemasonry does have, in my opinion, some of the most beautiful buildings in the world, and that's not just the stonework in them, as you might think, but that's the stonework plus the stained glass windows, plus the sometimes the fountains in some of them I've seen, the roof work, everything, the tiles, be beautiful.
Yeah, but you can't replicate that anymore. That skill's like gone.
The kind of dedication into it, which
You're not wrong. It's unfortunate.
If we just tell us a little bit about stained glass windows, because they're on 3 sides here. If we talk about this one
The
first.
memorial window that shows the angel, the dates of the First World War.
But I think Mr. Keeps is watching with us. I hope you're not getting too many ads, but we are 22 minutes in. I know my dad is watching with me. 22 minutes, 24 seconds. I know my dad's watching with us. Yes. Yeah. And by the way, I know the Supreme Book of Volume, the Sacred Lie, thing says no tattoos, but it's okay. I'm sure the Supreme Architect will understand. Or the Supreme Being, I should say.
It's actually something I really wanted to ask you about. How far does it go back? Because we know that it is connected with the Temple of King Solomon. And is it that the architecture is built around the King Solomon structure? Not itself, of course, because that's in Jerusalem. We believe.
Architecture very important. As the Americans would say, the $64,000 question is where did we start and why and when? And there's a huge amount of scholarly discussion gone on for over 100 years without really coming up with the answer. We believe we started sometime in the late 1500s, early 1600s, and that it was a period when politics and religion dominated everybody's lives. And
religion more so than politics, in my opinion.
Same way, things like
They've always had strong influences. Politics back in the day could cause wars, and wars really mess up your life. Like these days, I understand we have wars, Ukraine, Gaza, the works. We still have wars, but back then they could just run through, and everybody's dead.
Well, I mean, it was more conscription. Like you didn't always have the same choices, right? In terms of your ability to say no to war potentially, or to not go out and fight.
You had a choice back in the day. Like, oh hey, you come here. It's like, here's a sword. Have fun.
I think the key was you had to try to like escape into the wilderness as much as you could.
The basket itself is certain amount of Egyptian influence in the design of the building.
Egyptian influence. Egyptian is very important to Freemasonry.
Go on.
I mean, so the Regius poem I mentioned, the Halliwell manuscript, actually discusses from a not Freemasons but a stonemason perspective the idea of stonemasonry as beginning in ancient Egypt.
Okay, like I showed the shirt earlier, but the shirt I'm wearing is it's actually
that's right. So you are repping Egypt. I remember that tattoo. That was like probably the biggest tattoo you ever got in terms like the lower one, in terms of like a single fitting.
Yeah, that was a fun time though.
And I got this one in honor of Michael Myers from the Halloween part 4 and 5. Well, I guess Michael Myers was in all of them, but except for 3. But Michael Myers had that tattoo in part 4 and 5. Okay, what's KMT?
Just on the difference for these Freemasons, there is angels. There's like a symbol, but there's like angels with wings. Can you explain that? Is it angels?
It's sure they're angels in that sense. They you quite often find on all sorts of Masonic things or things we've got Masonic decoration. You'll find sun and the moon and normally 7. They look a little bit like Renaissance cherubs with flying wings, and that's just representative of the heavens and eternity.
Now we've come to the entrance of the Grand Temple, but before we do,
it's a beautiful,
That's gorgeous. Like the.
Yeah. the designs in the flow and
And things like
seeing
this, like walls and like large engraved murals and stuff like that. I'm always wondering, like, not just someone's just hitting away that it goes through, and it's like, oh no.
Well, I'd be terrified of breaking something. Yeah, be terrified of breaking something or something happening.
There's a little joke when we bring
I
visitors
wonder if
around.
they get like the apprentices to like rough cut it, like an ashlar.
And the guides usually walk.
Kemet, the name of Egypt used by the people of ancient Egypt. These black land refers to the fertile soil. Okay, cool.
Yes, and they also have the red land, which is the chaos, which is more like Seth. That's it.
You learn something new every day.
I have tons of books, and I have things that cover it.
That's right. This is set square and compass.
The square compasses, yes, they're most common emblem for Freemasonry. Square is morality, and the compass is reminded to keep within due bounds. Within.
See, the compass is morality. The compass like the compass is being a geometric tool, imply moral lessons.
Are you explaining stuff, Cameron? I thought that was against your code.
I explain the philosophical ideas behind things. I think the philosophical ideas are interesting to discuss. Although I'll say this fella's explaining them. I'm just repeating what he says.
Fair enough.
Wish I got this guy's name. I know it said it. It's funny. I don't know why, but on my so if you're watching this on Tubi, what you can do is you can go down and you can see it says you may also like, and it recommends other things for you to watch. You may also like Alien Top Secret, Eyes Only Crypto Clearance, TMZ Presents UFO Revolution, Monsters and Mysteries, Mayday Air Disaster, and Bikini Car Wash, which I would definitely like to watch. Bikini Car Wash. But I don't know why watching Freemasonry and the Knights Templar would get them to think I should watch Bikini Car Wash. Unless there
It's
were other things happening.
searches. It might be your search history.
Well, I mean, I've definitely watched Bikini Car Wash, other Bikini Car Wash movies.
Yeah, but I'm talking about one with girls in it.
Well, you watch what you watch, okay? KFC, magnetic compasses, symbol mortality. Knights of Columbus, magnetic compass. Okay. Like I said, I know very little with the Knights of Columbus. I'm always happy to learn more about it. Cable Toe Civil Fraternity.
So, to my knowledge, Knights of Columbus were like a reactionary group to Masonry. Started, I'd say, early 1900s.
In some ways, they were, yeah. Certainly, I believe, though, that if not the formation itself, but the significant growth it experienced was reaction to Freemasonry as being a fraternal organization that Catholic men could join because they weren't able to. Well, they can join Freemasonry. I know many Catholic Freemasons, but the Catholic Church has a different idea on that.
We once had a member that was Knights of Columbus first, and then he did join Masonry. I never asked him about it because I wouldn't want him to break any of his vows or obligations. I would never put a person in a situation where it compromised their character.
I've heard of Knights of Columbus and Masons having co-memberships, but I've never met one myself. But I have met Catholics who, especially in the Filipino community, both in Chicago, Illinois. There's a lodge there that's very heavily Filipino. A lot of them are practicing Catholics, and in Manila, in the Philippines. It's the Catholic version of We Are Masonry at Home. Well, I mean, I'm all for making fun of people and groups, but I respect, and like I said, I respect anybody who joins anything with the purpose of forming brotherhood or trying to make the world a better place. And the Knights do have a really cool, I know a little about it, but a really cool history as well, and have been a very important part of a lot of different communities. Oh, the Egyptian Freemasons built the Great Pyramids.
And to say people associate the pyramid symbol with the Freemason, which you say it has gone into the architecture. So can you explain the pyramid which is on the American dollar, which a lot of people associate that, and then there's the gap at the top? Do you understand what that means? Is that part of Freemason?
No.
It's not.
Is there like I assume is there a Knights of Columbus like YouTube channels like yours or their version of it? Have you looked up?
I'm sure there are. I don't know any of them, but I'm sure there are.
Have you ever tried
But
to like, make a breach?
to be fair, I've never been able. I have done preliminary searches. I never came across any YouTube channels that focus on Knights of Columbus, so maybe not. Maybe their numbers are just declining so much they don't have the members to even have the interest necessarily.
If we haven't looked, you don't know, right? So I have no clue. I'm speculating right now, so I can't really go either way on that.
Yeah, you'd think it would pop up more because so much of my search history on YouTube is like not just Freemasonry, but civic organizations, fraternal orders. You'd think some Knights of Columbus stuff would start finding its way onto my stream, but so far not really.
Then we'll take journeys through the doors.
Oh, so that was the end of it. It says, oops, made a mistake there. I made a mistake. It went to season 2 or season 1, episode 2. Explore the ground lunch of England with unique footage in various rooms. Oh, it's the same one each episode. So far, not a lot about Knights Templar. I don't know when it's coming up, but they just got to the point where they're going into the room itself. That's where my battery's at.
I will have to. I don't have enough time to make it through another one. I do have to work in the morning.
All right, so fair enough. So maybe we'll end here. Any quick thoughts,
Yeah,
either from anybody in the chat or Igor? Any thoughts on season 1, episode 1, Freemasonry and the Knights Templar?
What's your take, Cameron?
I liked it. A little bit misleading advertising at the moment because, again, no real discussion at all of the Knights Templar, which I think could potentially turn some people off in terms of if they're clicking that because they're interested in York Rite specifically, or the Knights Templar, right? Knights Templar specifically, York Rite in general. They may not make it through to episode 2 or 3 if they don't get what they're looking for in episode 1. So I worry about the false advertising of it. The information was all accurate, and I thought it was all very well explained. Again, not explained in the most exciting ways. So again, if you want some general information about what Freemasonry is, I would definitely recommend the first episode. It's a great overview of what Freemasonry is and how it works. If you're looking for information about the Knights Templar specifically, I don't think I'd recommend this as of this point. What about you?
I have to agree. I feel like their poster and their labeling of the title, at least, are very dishonest. Although I do get where they're coming from. If they would have had him sitting with her and like, this is the show, people would be like, no thanks. Like, library, no thanks. That's basically what it's been. Yes, I appreciate architecture, but it took forever to get there. Yes, the quality is very rough. I don't even know what year it was made, so we might have to look that up. But I feel like people LARPing might have more exciting things and still be able to throw information at us like that.
Well, it's so my dad, I don't know if he's watched more. He was saying, I guess the Knights Templar comes out in the very last episode, which is episode 11. So maybe, and it's different people. So maybe it's Knights Templars there. I don't know. It's tough, right? Even if they had started with some type of just saying like, just so you know, like an introduction where they say, we already talked about Knights Templars. However, to understand the Knights Templars, you first need to understand Freemasonry as it's the base. So we're going to start with that. And then, so just bear with us for a bit or something.
I agree. Disclaimer says jump to episode 3 immediately.
Yeah, if especially if you already know it.
Maybe they want you to sleep through the first episode so that you're awake for what happens later on.
Maybe. That's very possible. By the way, Ferris, how's it going? Welcome. Yeah, the video quality is not great. Well, the video quality was kind of crummy. The audio didn't seem very good either. I noticed the audio even more than the video seemed to me kind of tinny. Hello, X. Welcome. Thank you for joining. It's great to have you. Maybe that's what I have to do, the last episode first. Speaking of next time, I am going to mention, you should have got some emails about this. You're on the email list. We have a lot of things happening coming up. Friday the 19th, I'm going to start my live stream at 8 a.m. I'm going to be taking part in Medium. It's called Medium Day 2025. It's basically about writing. Medium is a format where you can write about things you love. It's kind of like YouTube for written content. But they're going to give examples of how to write well, how to write effectively. I think. Sorry.
Someone asked down in the comments. Someone asked, "Who's your friend?"
That's Igor. He's not as handsome as me. Don't forget.
We all can't be.
So I'm gonna kind of watch. It's a whole day of conferences on Zoom. I'm gonna watch it on Zoom. I'm gonna be live streaming throughout the day because I think there's probably a lot of information on Freemason or information that can benefit Freemasons in terms of effective writing and effective communication. That's the 19th, so that starts 8 a.m. On the 20th, I'm going to do a live stream on Instagram starting at 3 p.m. And then on the 21st at 2 p.m., my next 24-hour live stream, which goes from 21st to 22nd, which is my birthday. If you want to be cool, you can get a Patreon membership for my birthday, or you can be like Mr. Keeps and send me a gift package, which is fun. Well, thank you. We do both look good, but I look better. And don't forget, if at any given point in these streams, which happens, there's some type of technical glitch, the video goes, the audio goes, whatever it is, don't be alarmed. I'll get back on at some point. So don't feel like, just give me a couple seconds to figure it out. Even in the last stream, I had to switch a couple of times. The stream cut out. At one point, I was still streaming, but it stopped recording it. So the stream still went the full 24 hours, but the recording got cut off like 13 hours in or something. So I got to find the missing bit. But yeah. And on the 21st and 22nd, I'll be talking about Masonic history, and every couple hours giving away a tier 1 Patreon membership. A lot of streamers do, X. It's not just me. It's not a Masonic conspiracy. It happens to us all. By the way, 11 votes. Cameron's at 64%. Igor's at 36%.
I want to say, first of all, thank you for having me on. I do enjoy doing this. It's been years since the last time we've done this. We can continue with the series. We have to figure out when's a good time. So I'm actually in my office/son's room. My son's here on the weekends. Well, Friday or Saturday. And so we can try to figure out a time where I can use this and we can continue on the series and hopefully actually hear things about Knights Templar.
If we want to keep going with that series, we can. I mean, in terms of the voting, by the way, become a patron so you can vote on what we do. The actual vote was Freemason, the Knights Templar got 43% of the vote. Then the next line was Space Masons and the Alien Conspiracy, which got 29% of the vote. They do get Orders 66. That's true. That's the old Knights Templar, not the current ones, thankfully. Igor, you get the reference, Igor?
I do.
There you go. And then Secret Societies and 33 and Beyond each got 14%. So maybe that's what I'll do is the next poll I'll ask is, do you want us to continue with this series, or do you want us to do the next in line, Space Masons and the Alien Conspiracy? Maybe that's what we'll do. Or maybe it makes more sense to just stick with this one since we did the first episode anyways. And again, as a non-Knights Templar, you're the best person to have. Neither one of them have been to space, but at least you've been a Knights Templar, so you can at least answer questions when we get there.
Like anything, everyone's view is what they've been through. So I don't know what Knights Templar is anywhere outside the city. So I can barely speak for this region, I'd say, because I haven't even visited many preceptories in this area. I just know my preceptory, or at least I used to. It's been over 5 years now, but yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Keeps. Igor was York right? I don't know if, again, I'm not familiar with all the ins and outs. In Scottish Rite, you don't have to go in Ontario. You don't have to go all the way to the top. You stop at either Lodge of Perfection, Rose Croix, or Consistory. Is it the same thing with York Rite? Like you can stop at a different order, or do you have to go all the way?
So the rules, at least in this area, I can vouch for, are that you become your Master Mason, your Blue Lodge, and then you go to York. And then in York, you have to do chapter, which is a couple degrees there. And then you can branch off. You can either do Royal and Select Masters, which kind of is its own body. And then you can actually do Preceptory, which is Knights Templar. After Knights Templar, if you've done them all, well, there's actually other stuff too, but if you've done those three at least, then you can go York Rite College. York Rite College headquarters in Detroit, which is close by, which is very convenient. There's other small things like I mentioned AMD earlier, Allied Masonic Degrees, where they dig up old degrees, and it's really interesting to actually, Cryptic Masons, Royal and Select. Sorry, I'm mentioning Mr. Keeps. It is interesting in AMD to do a degree that's never been done in your area. They search archives, and it's like, okay, you have to do this piece of work. No one's done it before, so you get to really put your own take on it. And some of the degrees, like some of my favorite degrees, aren't even in the Blue Lodge, or I should say, Craft Lodge. Some of the best work I've ever done or enjoyed the most was in different bodies. And like I mentioned earlier, they don't do degrees like Scottish Rite does. We do orders, at least for after chapter, you stick to orders.
Very cool. Yeah, I know Mr. Keeps has talked a lot or expressed interest in New York in the past. So when we do our next stream together, which I'll advertise, I'm sure he'll have some more questions for you.
I didn't do all of them. Like I got invited to Conclave. So past preceptory, it's invitation only. So you get invited, and I didn't want to travel for Conclave or anything that's 2 hours at least away. I didn't want to go that far. Yes, we do not in York Rite. There is no representative candidate. You experience everything, and you experience the ups and downs of it. Let me put it that way. And as much as Cameron knows about the interactive abilities of the third degree, not that I don't know anyone who's actually broken a bone in getting the third degree, but some things in York Rite, if they're not done well, you could crack a tail. Let me put it that way.
So make sure you do them well. That might be a good lesson there. Maybe. I mean, you can't crack any of my toes, for the record. I don't have any, but
we'll find a way.
Well, you would, but out of jealousy, because of the fact that I'm the most handsome person here. 11-2, and yeah, I don't know. Does York Rite have you ever seen a York Rite open house? Scottish Rite has done a couple open houses in Essex County and in the Windsor Valley, but I don't know if York Rite's ever done it.
I don't, to my knowledge, no. I was York Rite maybe 8 years or so. It wasn't really that crazy amount. We do have like regional days, which are fun. Where we have a bunch of degrees or orders be thrown together, and they're done by different bodies. So some city might do one degree, and a different city do others. So those are really fun. Those are just for people that want to get some degrees pretty quickly or get people caught up, right? So say you missed a degree for whatever personal reason or family or whatever, and you can get caught back up, because just like you guys do, you guys start one thing and kind of go around for the whole year, right? So if you don't apply the right season, you might miss, right? But we have like catch-up days. Well, I can't say we. I'm not really committed, but yeah. Also, like my preceptory, my Templar, I chose the one lump sum. I know you guys do that too in Scottish Rite.
Sorry, the
For dues. Don't you guys have like one lump sum, or do you guys do
yeah,
yearlies?
yeah. I do think it's possible to actually pay yearly. I don't know for sure. I because I think it's possible, but to my knowledge, everybody just pays a lump sum. Um, uh, yeah. So that tends to be the way it works. I don't want to speak for. So, because Scottish Rite, there's northern jurisdiction, southern jurisdiction, and then Canada is its own jurisdiction, which is modeled somewhat on the southern. But there's different valleys throughout Canada. I don't know if every valley you pay a single lump sum, or if I don't know if that's every valley, but it is in Windsor Valley. Um, yeah, Igor's with me. Igor is part of well, Essex County District, really, but Windsor as well.
I'm Windsor adjacent. Let me put it that way. I'm a city nearby.
So the yeah, no, I think open houses are great from the Rites. Like I said, Scottish Rite did a few open houses here back in the day, so I'm sure they'll be looking at doing more. Excited to know a York Rite Mason or a former York Rite Mason, I suppose.
I still have the sword and the mantle. I
Not that
think
you won't be.
they never asked me to get back because they always like, "You're gonna join again?" I'm like, "Yeah, maybe eventually." I just had a
Not that
busy.
you won't be coming back to it, I'm sure, right? Um, you're still right. You're still part of it in your heart, if nothing else.
Yeah, there's like I'm also curious about Scottish Rite. So I have been to Scottish Rite open houses, and I've seen things you guys put on, and some of it does correlate to what happens in York Rite. So I'm like, oh, I know this part, but then I see how you guys do it, and I'm like, I don't like how you guys do it. Personal, just hot take, my take, but that's just how I find it.
And now they get him, guys. Go get these. Then the Scottish Rite people show up and kidnap you. No, I mean it goes back to the way it sounds, right? The music, the example I gave of there are different, even within Freemasonry, right? It's not just that some people love Freemasonry and some people don't. It's that two people can love Freemasonry, but love it for completely different reasons or completely different aspects of it or different parts of it, right? Like I have always preferred, and this is not meant as a knock, but I've always preferred our third degree in emulation ritual to the press and web third degree in the States. That doesn't mean I don't love going to the States and seeing it and seeing my brothers there, but I much prefer our third degree to the press and web or to the. It's something called York, right? But not York as in Knights Templar York. York is in the press and web side of things. So it's everybody has their own things that they love within Freemasonry. And I can't.
So I actually have another question because like I've been amazing for a long time, but never done Scottish Rite. So I have Scottish Rite questions. So do you, in the course of your journey to Scottish Rite, do you get, I hate calling them keepsakes, but mementos of the journey that you've passed through?
Not really. No. Well, we get our jewel, right? Our Scottish Rite jewel. And we get, a letter from the Grand Command, Scottish Rite Commander, and we get a rose for Rose Quad, but obviously that doesn't keep, right? That it's not a preserved rose. Beyond that, though, not really. Now there may be other valleys that do, but that would be it's not a requirement, at least in Canada. So in just the same way, right? You once gave like a chisel to somebody
Uh-huh.
going through a degree. There may be valleys and rites that create those keepsakes for their we call them classes, but it's not a requirement, at least not that I've ever seen. So I've never got a keepsake from a degree other than the actual jewel itself and a rose.
People are probably curious what the whole chisel thing is because you mentioned chisel. You remind me. So when I have a bond, I've been worshipful master 6 times, 6 years in the East, in Craft Lodge, and when there's certain individuals that aren't, that take their sweet time to progress to becoming Master Mason, and they really soak it in and they get the most out of it, I tend to present them with a chisel to show the perseverance that they've done through that. So I'm just a
The
little crap.
chisel is right. The chisel is an important instrument for Freemasonry. It represents metaphorically a lot of different ideas, but I'd say the main idea it represents is the value of perseverance, right?
I also do a retrospect. Like I do my own I wrote a couple things up that do about perseverance, some things about virtues. Um, so it goes along with it. So I will give them speeches or lectures as I go back down to the first degree to kind of showcase the journey they've gone through. This is a personal thing I do. Well, at least I have as worship master, even though I'm more like a has been now. But to go back to York Rite, they give you souvenirs. So without giving anything away, one of the things I appreciate the most is this tiny little, it's in the other room, white square, white cube, perfectly smooth on all sides. And it represents something. Like I'm not even gonna mention the color, blah, blah, blah. It represents something. So when I see that, I'm instantly taken back to that night where I got it. And I have different things for different degrees. So for me, I have like a box of things that are very emotionally charged memories. And they remind me of my journey.
Which you should have, right? I mean, I was suggesting to Masons, right? Get a get a shoebox, get something, get a journal, right? I mean, yeah. So we don't have again prescribed souvenirs in Scottish Rite, but like I'll be back in a second. Igor, keep them talking.
Thanks for leaving me hanging.
You'll be fine. But like, here it is. But even um, when it comes to these Masonic pins I've got, right? Like so many of these are actually some of these are Scottish Rite pins that I've got, but they're not required. It's just a Valley took it upon themselves to create a pin to commemorate a special event or occasion. Some of these are from the Learning Center, or one of them is from the Learning Center, which is a Scottish Rite thing. But the idea of having souvenirs attached to specific degrees or orders within York Rite, I think would make it more special. But yeah, these are so just some
You,
examples of things you end up
you
getting.
look like a Girl Guide and you just got a bunch of pins for either selling something or crocheting or cross stitching. That's what it looks like there.
That's what it should be. I mean, look at all these cool things. I did my last 24-hour live stream. I went through all these pins and all my coins. This barn degree one is a cool one. One of my favorite memories is going to see a third degree in a barn and then hearing the rain hitting the roof. It was fun. So I know Igor also has a pretty nice, as is well deserved, a pretty nice collection of stuff.
I don't wear any pins whatsoever. The only thing I bust out once in a while is my past master's jewel. I know I have a chapter pin. I have a bunch of stuff. I just keep it like I keep it on the level. It's just who I am.
Well, no, I don't wear my pins either, as a general rule. I love to collect them. I love to keep them. They're an important part of my Masonic journey, but I don't like to wear them in lodge as a general rule. I think it definitely can start to look pretty pretty gaudy. When I've seen some guys with just a full flap of pins on their coat, and it gets a bit much, and it kind of distracts from what you're there to do sometimes, as you have these lights shining in your eyes.
It kind of reminds me of like dictators. Like like Kim Jong Un, all them. Whenever they're in public with the military, they have like an entire like breast full of pins that they totally didn't deserve or earn, and it just looks absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, my dream is to be a dictator. In fairness, though,
Just
so
so many pins.
that's been my goal. James Dolan, they like to be blinding with their light. As to quote the song, "I'm not a Mason, but love pins." And that's cool if that's how you see them, James. And thank you for being here. Um, yeah, a lot of people like pins for different reasons, and certainly, if the pin has a special place, memory-wise, or represents something important to you, it can be a talisman of those feelings.
Are you talking about talismans like hermetically, like you're trying to induce magic into them? Because talismans can mean a lot of different things.
I mean, yeah, for me, when I hear talisman, I tend to just think of something that kind of concentrates an emotional feeling,
Okay.
whatever it might be. But James may be meaning talisman more in the actual like practical magic sense. Which, by the way, is a great movie. Coming out with a sequel to it. Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman are returning. It's my pieces of flair. I've talked about this. Why I don't like that movie. I don't like Office Space. I think it's needlessly cynical. Uh, if anything, I
I'm
think
hurt.
no, that movie. The hero of that movie was the dude with the flair because he cared about where he was and wanted to make the restaurant better. And Jennifer Aniston was all too school for cool and couldn't wear the flair. You know. Yes, that's a sigil.
Sigils can be used in different things. So like there's also a thing called like chaos magic where people will emotionally charge sigils, but there's also talismans go deep. Sigils reach your unconscious, so there's ways to like influence a lot of different things. I don't have time to get into this today, but next time we go on this, we can go pretty deep if you want. Like right now, I'm reading about like Ficino and other hermetics, like Giordano Bruno, who got burned at the stake for his beliefs. And I always find it interesting to read about people that got burned at the stake because they wouldn't let go of their beliefs.
I mean, it takes a lot of courage to be willing to go through that for what you believe. I like to think of him my element, Mr. Keeps. Who knows? Uh, James Dolan has been 35 watching for 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. I'm glad you said hi, James. I hope you'll hit the subscribe button if you've not done so yet. And I do think we're pretty chill and cool guys. I'm more chill and more cool than Igor, but he's okay. Also more handsome, pursuant to my scientific poll of 11 votes. My memento is my Merchant Navy uniform. I'm sure it's a great uniform and a great memento. That'd be awesome. Kind of like the aprons I've got in my travels, that I've kept over the years. But I should end this stream soon. First, because you got to get to work, and my phone needs to get recharged. But we will find another time to do this for sure. We'll have to decide: do we keep on the same? Do we keep with the same series, or do we switch it up? Maybe I'll ask my patrons to decide. And with that, any last words, Igor?
Goodbye.
That's a good last word. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Where do I always go for the wrong spot. All right, see you guys later.